Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. We are back at the tailgate for more on the Ram Revival. And in this case, as you should probably be able to tell, we got something from Gibson. Now you're questioning yourself, okay, is this a catback system, is it a muffler, is it headers, what's going on? Well, let's break it down for you. So, we've built the motor. I'm not sure if I've revealed the specs yet. What we've done, it is back. It's been dynoed last Saturday, got back yesterday, and here I am on Sunday, getting time to finally film this. And what these are Shorty Headers, alright? So, this again is from Gibson, and right there is one of the big reasons that we went this route. So I set the tripod back down for you. These were sourced from Summit Racing. I think I had $50 Summit bucks, which again, that's applicable wherever. I want to say I paid around like $579, but they're currently $587. It's going to fluctuate a little bit every once in a while. The price versus the JBA was roughly the same. It's almost negligible at that dollar point. It's not like, it's $600 for the Gibson and $400 for the JBA. The JBAs, when I just checked, were $565. These being $587 now, you're talking about like 22 bucks, right? I think it was even less than that. I think it was $12 whenever I purchased them. And the main reason I went with Gibson, I know I've got one buddy that's got some on his third gen, and he seems to like them, hasn't had issues with them. That's close as I get to first-hand experience with Gibson or JBA on the truck platforms. I've known a few guys that threw them on their Challengers back in the glory days, but JBA would have been around longer. There should be more installs. You really have to dig back, whether it's on a Ram forum, Dakota Durango, whatever. You're kind of going back in time. And JBA, the reason I didn't go that route is they're made in Mexico and Gibson's made in America, and the price difference is 22 bucks. And again, my one credible first-hand feedback source has Gibson's and hasn't had issues. So that's my reason right there. The criteria I went for, I wanted it, number one, anytime you do headers, right, for anything, you want a thick flange. Otherwise, it's going to be worthless, it's going to warp, it's going to not seal, and that means it's leaking, and that means it's giving you headaches. The install is typically not going to be the easiest thing you do, and if you're constantly fighting leaks, trying to patch it up with different and expensive gaskets or silicone this and that, it's not worth it. You would have been better off to just spend the money in the first place and get the quality product and not have problems moving forward. So I wanted something stainless and I wanted something coated. Gibson and JBA both fall into that criteria. You also have to realize there's not like many options for this. You're either going JBA, Gibson, maybe Flowtech. Pace Setter's got long tubes to their credit. But past that, it's not like you've got like Cooks and American Racing Headers and, random Mopar brand Y and TTI Direct Fit. It's very limited. We did go with Shorties. The reason for that, the truck is four-wheel drive. It would be a nightmare, I believe, to get the everything dialed in. I also need to get the truck back up and running ASAP. If this was like a long-term project, a race vehicle, an off-road dedicated deal, if it wasn't needed all the time and me not having a truck sucks, maybe we would go, with the long tubes and then just, take the time to splice the exhaust together type of a deal. But the way these trucks work, you'll see it in all the videos. You've got your Shorties here, you got your Y pipe. Luckily this is no one, so it has the better Y pipe. Routes back to the cat. You've got an upstream and a downstream O2. And getting that done with long tubes and four-wheel drive with a transfer case and needing to have this driven and back on the road ASAP, not necessarily ideal. So Shorties were the ticket. Again, we can change things later moving forward if we want to. If I flip this around, you can again reference the part number there, GP301SC. These are 409 stainless and they are silver ceramic coated. Now, I'll toss that down. They were nice enough to include hardware and gaskets. So we've got the exhaust gaskets here from Gibson. They are not terrible. I'm not going to lie. They're not like complete junk. They're also not the best that we could get. So more on that shortly. The hardware is included, which I thought was pretty cool. I've not opened it up to take a look at it. Obviously our smaller bolts there are going to be for the headers themselves, and then I'm thinking these longer ones must be for the flanged connections to the Y pipe, which is awesome. I very well will probably be running stainless hardware, but it is cool that it's included. That is another perk. Everything looks to be there, short of dumping it out. Right there, this is what these would be applicable to. Again, note, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, 5.2, 5.9. And both sides of the outside tubes of the headers are dimpled for better header bolt clearance. Now, you might be appalled by that, thinking, I didn't want my beautiful new tubes dimpled. Well, the good news is the factory did that, and they did that before the coating was applied. If you got coated tubes, and you come in and you start having to beat and, you know, bang and, you know, chisel and engineer hammer this and that to make things fit and to be able to bolt them in place, right, and not have leaks, you're going to ruin the finish on your headers, and that is not ideal. So we haven't installed them. We'll have to, you know, give it some time, see how it goes. There's the carb sticker for everyone in California coming over. It looks like we do have nice little sticker. That's not a bad looking sticker, I have to say, to be honest with you. There's a flyer. I've never bothered to look at this, so I might flip through it. Pretty cool. That's actually pretty decent marketing, I have to say. Kind of old school, but I appreciate that. That's the way I like it. So, lifetime warranty, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to what the good stuff is, which is the gaskets we bought to replace what was included. Now, true story, I was a huge fan of Percy's Seal for Good, okay? Some of you back, you know, like late 90s, early 2000s, probably know what I'm talking about. It was like the purple stuff, you know, packaging. And I always had issues with header collector gaskets. Little 3-inch, you know, triangulated ones, they would always blow out. The copper ones, you know, would eventually like warp from the heat and everything. This is all like big block stuff on the 440 back in the day, and I got sick of it. And when those came out, I was like, that's not going to work. But you know, I was like, hey, I've tried everything else, so I bought those. They're awesome. I don't know how many mufflers I swapped when I was in high school trying to find something I thought was perfect. What I'm currently doing with screwdrivers in high school, that was me experimenting with mufflers, which was, again, not probably the best use of funds, but, you know, hey, I was working, and it was my cash, so I do what I want, right? And it didn't take me too terribly long to figure out what I liked. But Percy Seal for Good, I love that stuff. When I built a stroker for the Duster, way back in 05 now, every gasket I had for the exhaust was Percy Seal for Good. Percy Seal for Good doesn't seem to be around anymore, at least under that name. As best I understand, I guess Taylor, which of course makes the plug wires I run, the Spyro Pros, they seem to have acquired the brand or rebranded them or something, and they do still have a lot of those products. It's just they didn't have anything specific for the Magnum. There's slight subtle differences between an LA head and a Magnum head. And subsequently, I didn't have that as an option, and I thought, no, this is terrible. I'm going to have to get those stupid copper gaskets, and they're probably going to be a nightmare because it's the truck, and it's a daily driver, and that's just how things would go. And luckily, there's a company here called Remflex. This is kind of the bonus for you. They're exhaust gaskets. If you don't like them, you haven't tried them. That's pretty cocky, and I like it. So, guaranteed, that's pretty bold also, to stop leaks, 50% crush seals, warped and pitted flanges. So that's important. Like if we were going back with the factory exhaust manifolds, maybe you're in the Rust Belt, maybe your truck is from the Rust Belt, this type of a product will do wonders for you. They're a solid graphite gasket, good to 3,000. If we hit 3,000, we have bigger problems, okay? So, over-engineering is usually not a bad thing. There is no retorquing required. Again, right here, the part number, if you're interested for your 5.2, 5.9 folk out there. Jeep Grand Cherokee people, I haven't forgotten you either. These are RFL 6004. Again, I sourced these as well from Summit. I think you can also get them probably Amazon or eBay. For me, headers were coming from Summit. They actually had these, which I've never seen them advertised, but I always check, and I was content with that. So these, again, fit the 5.2 and the 5.9, 93 and newer. I guess the 318 from 92 up, according to them. There are your dimensions. They suggest you torque to 20 foot-pounds. I'm going to keep these sealed. You will see them when we install them. And, I'm just hoping that this is essentially the same thing as my Percy Seal for Good was back in the day. So let's move the tripod over, shall we? And that glorious wrap that's not in the box is containing the Shorty Headers. So I gotta say, there's nothing quite as satisfying as seeing something ceramic coated before it's been installed. Everything I've had that's been ceramic coated, it kind of I'm talking like a decade. You know, it kind of fades, loses a little bit of the luster, but it still looks really good. Looks way better than rusted header tubes. Looks way better. I don't care what you paint them with, if it's barbecue grill paint, if it's engine paint, if it's caliper paint. That stuff's going to warp, it's going to smoke, it's going to chip, it's going to fade. It's never going to look right unless that's the look you're going for. The silver ceramic coating, which is usually jet hot, has been very, very good to me. So, case in point, the difference, dropping some silica beads out, which I guess is good because that means they blasted them. But the big selling point, aside from the ceramic coating, these tubes, by the way, are going to be 1.5 inches. This right here, where my thumb is running around this really nice radius portion of the flange, that is 3/8 of an inch thick, okay? 3/8, 0.375, 1/8 of an inch away from a 1/2 inch thick. What does that mean to you? That means it's going to seal well to your cylinder heads, okay? It also means it's thick enough that you're not going to start your truck, drive to your buddy's house, take him on a joyride, come back home, sit at a stoplight, and think, hey, what's that noise? The truck sounds funny. And realize you have an exhaust leak because you warped the header flange on your $150 eBay headers, okay? That is just not something you do. This is where you always serve yourself well to spend the extra money and get the good product from the get-go. Trust me, okay? If you want to get the cheap ones, you do it, but you're gonna have issues, and you will, in the long run, regret it, and you will wish that you would have just bought something good from the beginning. So 3/8 thick flange. The tubes are all 1.5 inches. Would it be nice if they were bigger? For our application, probably so. I'm thinking maybe like 1.75 inches. I don't know that we need to go much bigger than that, but it would be interesting to test different primary tubes, different runner lengths. But again, you know, there's just such limited aftermarket offerings in this, you know, sector. I guess we should just be content that we can even get them. So the other thing trained eyes are going to see right there, the spot welded tag that has Gibson on it. It kind of hard to see. I'm thinking with the ceramic coating, it probably kind of buries out whether they had that stamped or not. But right here, if you see and you're like, what's that deal? That doesn't look as smooth. That's where they've dimpled the tubes for me, okay? If I would have bought these for nearly $600 and this was a round tube, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to get down into this area with a bolt of any substantial length to actually thread into the block, okay? Like even at least like a nut, you know, like 3 or 4 turns, and get a socket on there. We're very likely going to have to use, you know, wrenches even to turn these, but the fact that they dimpled them before these were coated is important, because again, if they sent these to me and maybe I work something out, maybe I don't, but most people would have to dimple these. You run the risk of puncturing the primary tube. You run the risk of ruining the finish. It is not good. It is not ideal. The fact that they've done it, I appreciate that. I understand headers. I get how the constraints are, and I'm more than fine with that. All right, here you can kind of see if that was 1. You got 3 5s. Flip side is also going to be dimpled, and then over here on the inside of 7, they have also dimpled it a bit as well. Right here, look at this. This side, we got no dimples. That's just beautiful ceramic coating, which is, again, we're actually going to have under hood temps should be down versus, say, just like stainless or straight steel headers, painted, whatever we might have done to them. And they're going to look good for a long time. Flip side of the flange. Look at that. That's pretty good. Again, this boss here combined with our good gaskets, I hope we won't have any issues. Now, the Remflex packaging said no retorquing required. Out of instinctual habit, okay, like within the first week, maybe not the next day, but you know, like if I drive the truck to work Monday, Saturday, or Sunday when I get free time, I'm going to come in and recheck the torque. It's just good practice. And, typically, if it's coming loose, you kind of know. If it's good, you're probably set. Right here, down on the bottom side, this is a ball flange, just like our exhaust manifolds have. We've also got a very beefy 3/8 flange right there, which, you know, the cast iron manifolds might have been a slightly thicker, but they certainly didn't look this good. So again, this should bolt right up to our Y pipe. That's going to be the beauty of these. No custom fab, none of that stuff required. And again, a 4-wheel drive truck is just not the best thing to work with in terms of, hey, let me piece together an exhaust system, okay? I also do not own a TIG welder, which I would love to add one, but right now all funds are kind of going this direction. So with that said, I think we've kind of covered everything we need to. Let me grab this one for you. And the tailgate, I tell you, Home Depot, they bashed it up for me, and then I had that guy kick a chain off when I picked up a 440. But here they are. We've got one up, one down. These are super, super good looking headers. And again, you're not going to necessarily see them all the time, but you'll know they're there when you pop the hoods. Trained eyes will be able to pick them out. And that's what we did. So 580-ish right now is the price. Again, you can source the JBA slightly cheaper. The JBAs kind of have what they call a ram horn. It looks really cool. But again, price points were about the same. And my big selling point, honestly, with the USA versus Mexico, I'm sure the JBAs are good, but you know, Gibson didn't have any first-hand experience with them. Decided, based on the limited stuff that I know and the feedback I got from the one person that I know that actually runs a set of Gibson Shorties, which is, again, is not on a second gen, but it's on a third gen Ram 5.7 stuff. I thought, you know what, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger, give them a shot, see what we think. Initial impressions are fantastic. Now, when we go to install these, we may not think as highly of them. So if you're interested in seeing these being dropped on, just like, you know, the intake manifold we've taken a look at and all the other cool aftermarket goodies, make sure you're checking out the Ram Revival. We pulled the engine, we're highlighting, showcasing some of the cool aftermarket parts, and then of course we will be installing them, particularly since the motor is back. So that's good times right there. Again, I don't necessarily film all this stuff in order with the aftermarket parts, but hey, these were available. That's key as well at this time with crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'm excited to see how they do on the install and, of course, performance-wise for the truck. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, I've got dinner in the oven. I better get inside and make sure I don't burn the place down, because that would suck. And, then we'd be living in the truck too. So with that said, thanks for watching. I will catch you back here for more from the Ram Revival.